Hi there, Tammy with Stampin' Savvy. Thanks for joining me. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here to showcase or continue the showcase on the Accented Blooms stamp set. This is a new stamp set in the 2018-2019 annual catalog that just came out. And I've been showcasing cards this week to show you just the many possibilities of things that you can do with this stamp set. It's one of my favorites. In fact, when the catalog came out, it was one of the first things that went on my wish list because it coordinates with the tailored tag punch that was part of the occasions catalog. So I already had that, and so to have another use or a stamp set specifically to use with that just really gets me excited. I really like the versatility that comes with that. So I want to show you the cards that were on the blog this week in case you missed them. This is the one I shared on Monday. This was just simply stamped and heat embossed with white embossing powder. And then it's got a peekaboo sentiment. So I took the tailored tag punch and I punched the top panel and then put the sentiment underneath. Typically you would do your sentiment and then it goes on top. So instead I kind of did the opposite. So just a fun twist. This is the polka dot tulle ribbon. Love that. That's the basket weave textured impression embossing folder. So it just gives, you know, just a lot of texture and dimension, but really a very simple card. Now the next card I shared on the blog was this one, and this one brought the blends in, and I just did one single stamp of the main stamp, colored it with the blends, and then I took the smallest circle from the Stitched Shapes Framelits set, and I just die cut, you know, took it and just die cut 3 different places, and then popped it up on dimensionals. This is the Petal Pair Textured Impressions embossing folder. I use the deboss side, which just means flip it over so that the top of the folder is on the bottom, and then you get the deboss side, as opposed to the raised part is the embossed side. So the part that goes down is debossed. And then this sentiment is from the Enjoy Life set, which I really like as well. Quick stamping on the envelope. This was a very quick card. Another option you could do with this one, if you don't have that embossing folder, you could just put a piece of designer series paper underneath that. If you don't have the blends yet, then just do a simple black and white. You could also use your blender pen to do some coloring, but just a simple black and white, or even a stamp in different colors, like maybe you stamp in red, you stamp in yellow, or you stamp in blue. To coordinate would be another way to do that card. Really fun. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to show you one more option, and we're going to create these cards here. I'm using the 2018-2020 in colors, and I'm going to show you how to do watercoloring, easy watercoloring. I know a lot of my customers are just really intimidated by it and say, I can't do that. I'm going to show you, yes, you can. You really can. So what I like about the in colors is they're designed to coordinate together. So I've got the set of the ink pads, and if you buy these as a bundle, you save 10%. Everybody loves that. And then I've also got the designer series paper. Let me bring that in, that I have used. And you get 40 sheets, so you get 8 sheets of each color. And it comes in 2 different patterns, actually 4 patterns. So you've got stripes and then polka dots. And then in the same ones, you've also got these kind of monochromatic stripes and monochromatic polka dots. So you get that in each of the colors. This is probably my top favorite designer series paper, and it's available in all 4 of the color collections, as well as the 2 in color collections, and I have used it so much. So versatile. I know I say versatile a lot. It really should be my middle name, but versatile and value I really do appreciate. So we're going to be creating these, and I'm going to show you, again, how to do the watercoloring. Really, really simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, I've got watercolor paper. Anytime that you're doing watercolor or introducing a lot of water, you need a heavy paper to be able to handle that. So we're going to be using the smooth side, and I've got spacers here on my Stamparatus, simply because I'm going to be stamping pretty low and I don't want to hit the hinges. So we're going to be using this large stamp here. So we're going to go ahead and just position it here. Go ahead and swing our door to pick that up. And the reason I want to use the Stamparatus for this is because it's thick paper. There's a little bit of a tooth to it, and so sometimes you don't get a complete impression the first time. So what we're going to do is you're going to use Stays On ink. It's a solvent ink pad, so it's waterproof. We're going to go ahead and get that inked up. Press that down. Okay, not too bad, but you can see that there's a little bit of areas that are a little bit light. That's very common when you're using the watercolor paper. But the nice thing is that this Stamparatus just totally takes care of that, because you get exact placement every time. So I don't have to worry about trying to line this up again, which in the red rubber would be virtually impossible to do. So there we go. That's much better, although I still think I need to press a little bit harder down there. So let's just ink that area up, and let's do that one more time. Okay, I think we're going to go with that. That looks good. We're going to put the cover back on. Anytime that you are using Stays On ink, you are going to want to use the Stays On cleaner. In fact, this one is one that we sold years ago. I still have it, because Stays On by nature is meant to stay on, and so you really need the special cleaner to be able to get that off. So let's go ahead and remove this, set this aside, take it out of our Stamparatus. You'll notice what I have underneath here is I just use the foam pad that it comes with for photopolymer stamps, and then this is my Stampin' Pierce mat. It just helps to level this side out, so when you're using your stamp pad on it, it just makes it work a little bit nicer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our heat tool. It's important that this is nice and good and dry, so we're going to just set it to 1. We're going to just give it a quick dry, or if you've got the patience, you know, just set it aside. And I've actually got one that I did a few minutes ago that we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring in here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring in our ink pads. And I'm going to show you a trick. There's 2 different ways that you can do this. And this is just one that I particularly like. And what I do is I get my block, and I take, let's get the yellow here since I've used a lot of that up. Go ahead and open up your pad, and then just you ink up the corner, and you use your block as a palette. Okay, looks like I might need a little bit more of the Grapefruit Grove as well. Just do that. Now the other way that you can do this is you just simply take the stamp pad and you just gently squeeze in the center. And what it does is you can see the squeeze mark there, and then it puts your ink into the tray, and then you use the tray as a palette. So do whatever works for you. Because I'm using so many colors and I just didn't have room, I'm going to work off of this. So what we're going to do is you're going to need your aqua painters full of water, a towel, and then we're going to bring in our watercolor paper. So there are 3 tips that I will give you for watercoloring. One is water is your friend. So the ticket to watercoloring is to lay down your water first. So I'm using the smaller tip between the two. There's kind of a medium and a large. I'm using this medium. What I like to do is just give it a squeeze until I get water in my hand. Okay, wipe that off. And then we're going to go ahead and just apply that water to the area that you want to color. And we're going to do those two, and we're going to do this flower right here. And I got a little bit there. We're going to work in one area at a time. You don't want to do the whole thing because the water will tend to kind of pull together and then all your colors will run. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to lift up some yellow, and you're just going to drop it in there. Okay? That's all you got to do. Just drop it in, spread it around a little bit. Same thing here. Drop it, just spread it a little bit. We're going to let the water do the work. I'm going to bring in my towel down here. Now while that's still wet, let's get a little bit of orange. We're going to create a little bit of shadow. I think these are like dandelions maybe? And then for here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this in the center. Okay? And then we'll wipe this off. Now let's go ahead and do this large one here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we got water going. We're just going to wet down this flower all over, okay? And then we're going to bring in the Grapefruit Grove. And again, just kind of spread that around a little bit, okay? And that's it, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this aside. Now, if you're impatient, fix that right there. If you're impatient, you can use your heat tool on the low and do that, but you do need to be careful because if you have too much water that's puddled, it'll actually move the water, and that's what you don't want to do. So the best thing that you can do is to go ahead and just set it aside to dry for a few minutes. So I'm going to bring in one here that I've already done. And now it's all completely dry. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to come back and we're going to do the other pieces here so that the water isn't going to merge into those. If we would have done them all at once, that ink probably would have merged into that one, and those would have merged into that one, etc. And then you just kind of get muddy. So let's go ahead and put some water on these two here. We're going to take the lovely lipstick. Okay. We're just going to drop that in there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of water here and a little water here. And let's bring in some lipstick here. Just kind of spread it around a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to do these here, being careful not to get the water anywhere between them. Okay, now we're going to take our blue and we're going to do our blue here. And you can tell I am not being very careful, and that would be one of my other tips, which is to just relax, enjoy, don't overthink it, embrace the organic. Looks like this one needs a little more water. Okay, so let's come over and let's go ahead and do the green. So again, we're putting water on first. Okay, pick up a little green. See how that water pulled that over before I'd even touched it? Okay, so let's put that in. Okay, now what we can do is let's pick up a little yellow and add some yellow to that. See how that lightens that up? Kind of gives your greens a little dimension. Let's pick up a little blue, and we're going to make this kind of a silvery, kind of a bluish green leaf. Okay, and then we've got these leaves over here. I still have blue on my thing, but no worries. We'll drop in a little bit of green. There we go. And I think we're just going to leave that. Now, here's another tip, something that you can do if you get where, let's say that that's just too bright and you want to tone that down, just, whoops, take your towel, make sure it's clean, and just lift up some of the color. Let's do that here. So now what that did is it kind of created a little bit more of a pink, okay? So let's go ahead and come back, and I'm going to drop in just a little bit of color here in the center, which I can do because let's do a little bit here, we're going to do some here. Okay, now red and blue make purple. So what we're going to do is where the red was, we're going to drop in a little bit of blue. And that's going to turn purple. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. And then where the blue is, we're going to drop in a little bit of red. Okay. And that's pretty good. We're just going to leave that. So we're going to set that aside to dry. And I'm going to bring in one that I had finished earlier. Oops. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do the background. And we're going to switch to the larger of the two. And we're going to set this aside. So again, we're going to make sure we're going to be using a lot of water here. So let's go ahead and get this going. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to take this and we're going to spread that water all over this front panel. Kind of bring it down over here. Bring it down here, kind of bring it over here. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick up some of our blue. Just drop that in. And we're just going to let the water move it around. That's really the key here, is let the water do the work. Okay. Water is your friend. Be patient. Probably the biggest mistake people make is they don't let it dry in between stages. And so then you can run into problems. Excuse me. Okay, now let's say that that's a little too blue. Again, let's go ahead and take this, bring it in, and lift some of that off. And now we've got just a much lighter color. Now I'm going to show you one other tip, something that you can do that kind of gives you a fun technique, is take and just hit it on your finger. So you're getting all these little water droplets. I don't know, can you see that? And then we're going to just wait a few seconds, and then you're going to come in with a clean area, and we're going to take and we're going to lift that off, and it just kind of gives you, it lifts the ink. So you just kind of have a fun, I don't know, sky effect. Kind of cool. Okay, so now you're going to set that one aside to dry, and now we are ready to actually put the card together. So this is one that I had done earlier, and you can see I got kind of speckles on that, but not to worry because that's going to get covered up with our sentiment. So let's move some of our stuff out of the way. We're going to bring in, we're going to be doing Grapefruit Grove is the color we're going to be working off of for our card base here. And so we're going to go ahead. This is the Designer Series paper. We're going to do that in the stripe. So that's 4 1/4 by 2 1/4. Okay. Set there. This is Lovely Lipstick. And I don't remember the measurement, but not to worry, it will be on the blog. All the measurements will be on the blog. So we're just going to kind of do that at an angle. Okay, now we're going to take, and I've got the 1/8 inch grosgrain ribbon that's available in each of the in colors. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this across here and bring this to the back. So I'm going to just use glue dots for this. And you could use tape, snail, whatever you've got. We're going to bring it across. I find that this is easier than trying to tie the bow while it's attached, but certainly do whatever works for you. Okay, so we're just going to bring that straight across like that. Now we're going to flip it over. We're going to put our dimensionals on, and we're going to go ahead, let's go ahead and put one there. Let's put a couple here in the center just so that we don't get it dipping. Don't want any dips. Dip-de-doos are not good. Nice level layers is what we want. Okay. And then this is going to go straight. The panel will be straight on there. That's good. Okay, now what I've done is I've gone ahead and I have stamped the sentiment. This is from the Varied Vases stamp set. This is by my upline, Mary Fish. I absolutely adore. We're using the Hoping Your Day Blooms with Happiness. This is another favorite set. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to center it in the Tailor Tag Punch. Punch that out. And we're going to put our dimensionals on this. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that, get that centered. There we go. And then we're going to take and we're just going to do our bow separate. Like I said, I find this easier to do than trying to tie it while it's in place. So that's just my trick. Start large and then bring it smaller. Okay. And then trim your ends here. And then bring in, here's the glue dots. Just put a glue dot on your back there. And we're going to put it right there on the end corner. And there you have it. Oh, one more step, my favorite part. Wink of Stella. What doesn't look good with some shimmer? So what I like to do is come in and then just give a little bit of Wink of Stella to your flowers. This is also what I call really forgiving, because let's say you have a boo-boo. I'll put some Wink of Stella over it because the shimmer and the shine totally distracts you. You'll never know. There you go. So add that to the other cards that we've got. And you can see just the incredible variety of things that you can do with this stamp set. I really do just love it. I think it's great. And again, I hope that these tips for watercoloring will be helpful to you. It really doesn't have to be intimidating. Just go with the flow, as they say, and enjoy the 2018-2020 in colors as well. Go for the coordinated sets. There's so much that you can do with it. If you invest in the cardstock, the designer series paper, and the ink, you'll just be able to create for a really, really long time. If you need any of the Stampin' Up! Supplies, please visit my blog. You can shop through there, use my rewards code, and I send freebie samples every month. And I hope that you enjoyed this. All the measurements will be on the blog. So until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.